Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when your soul gets quiet, not because there's peace, but because the pain is so loud. Moments when you smile in public, but break in private. Moments when you wonder, why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this? But I came here today with a message, not to break you further, but to build you with the truth. Because if you're going to survive this life, I mean really survive it, you're going to need more than motivation. You're going to need to hear the painful truths that nobody wants to talk about, the truths that aren't pretty but they're real, and if you stay with me just for the next few minutes, I promise you this, by the time we're done, you won't just see the pain, you'll understand its purpose. There comes a time in every person's life when they must face a truth so sharp it cuts through every excuse, every illusion, and every comfort zone. And that truth is this: life doesn't owe you anything. Not a job, not a title, not love, not peace, not even an explanation. You can walk through this world with the best of intentions, the kindest of hearts, and the hardest work, ethic, and life still won't hand you anything just because you showed up. And I know that's not what we want to hear. It's easier to believe that if you do good, you'll get good. That if you stay loyal, you'll be rewarded. That if you keep your hands clean and your heart pure, then surely the world will turn in your favor. But let me break that illusion today, not to discourage you, but to free you. You see, we live in a culture that tells us we're special, and in many ways we are. But special doesn't mean exempt. You are not exempt from struggle. You are not exempt from disappointment. You are not exempt from working not just hard, but relentlessly, intentionally, and repeatedly. Life doesn't operate on entitlement. It operates on principle. And one of the hardest principles to accept is that your presence on this earth is not a guarantee of progress. Nobody is coming to hand you anything. Nobody is coming to save you. The world is not looking for someone to crown, it's looking for someone who can carry the weight of the crown. So if you've been sitting in the waiting room of life, expecting the door to open just because you've been patient, wake up. If you've been thinking that someone will come along and recognize your worth without you ever having to stand up and declare it yourself, wake up. There is no prize for potential. There is no reward for simply surviving. The only thing life respects is movement. The only thing life rewards is resilience. You have to fight for your future. You have to push for your peace. You have to grind for your growth. And I know what some of you are thinking, but I've already been through so much. I hear you, I feel you, but let me tell you something real. Pain doesn't buy you a pass. Your suffering may have shaped you, but it doesn't entitle you. Life will not repay you just because you've been through hell. If anything, it's waiting to see what you'll do after the fire. Will you rise up? Will you rebuild? Or will you sit in the ashes, demanding the world feel sorry for you? Life doesn't speak the language of pity. It speaks the language of perseverance. So stop looking around, waiting for someone to come validate you. Stop keeping score of everything you did right, expecting the universe to hand you a gold star. This isn't grade school, this is the battlefield of purpose. And in this world, you have to make your own way. You have to create your own opportunity, and yes, it's unfair, yes, it's hard, but you are stronger than you think and more capable than you know. You were not born to be coddled, you were born to conquer. Now, I'm not telling you this to harden your heart. I'm telling you this to strengthen your spine. Because when you finally accept that life owes you nothing, something powerful happens. You stop waiting and you start moving. You stop begging and you start building. You stop blaming and you start believing. Believing that you have what it takes to get up and go after what is yours. Believing that your value is not determined by what life gives you, but by what you're willing to give life. Your time, your talent, your tears, your tenacity. And when you get tired, and you will get tired, don't sit there asking, why hasn't it happened for me yet? Ask instead, what else can I do today to build the life I dream of? Because nobody's going to do it for you. Not your friends, not your family, not the government, not the algorithm. If you want it, you've got to go get it. You've got to rise, grind, and repeat every single day. Because life doesn't owe you anything. But you owe it to yourself not to waste another second waiting for what only your courage can create. One of the most painful realizations you will ever come to in this life is that the people you love the most may not believe in the vision God gave you. You could be carrying a dream so vivid, so alive inside your spirit that it keeps you awake at night. You can feel it in your bones, see it in your future, hear it in your heart, and yet, the moment you open your mouth to share it, you're met with silence, or worse, doubt. And sometimes that doubt doesn't come from strangers. It doesn't come from enemies. It comes from family, from friends, from the very people you thought would cheer you on, cover you in prayer, and support you no matter what. It's a tough pill to swallow, but you need to understand this. Not everyone can see what you see. Not everyone is supposed to. Your vision wasn't given to them. It was given to you. The calling on your life wasn't a group announcement. It didn't come with a family meeting or a friend group memo. It was whispered into your soul in the stillness of your own private battle when nobody else was watching. And that means it is your responsibility, not theirs, to protect it, feed it, and walk it out. Let me say it plainly. Some people will never clap for you until the world forces them to. Some people won't take you seriously until strangers are calling your name. They won't recognize your gift until it's profitable. They won't see your value until someone else validates it. But if you let that stop you, you'll never get to the place where your dream is even visible. If you let their disbelief break your spirit, you'll start burying what you were called to birth. You must learn how to walk alone. You must learn how to believe before there's evidence. Because if your dream requires constant applause, you're not dreaming, you're performing. And a performer is only as strong as their audience. But a visionary walks even when no one follows. A visionary works in silence, builds in secret, grows in private, and when the time is right, the dream doesn't need to be explained, it speaks for itself. Sometimes it hurts more when the doubt comes from the people you trust. You want their validation, you want their love, and somewhere deep down, you hope that their support will be the foundation under your feet. But the truth is, sometimes family is not your foundation, they are your first resistance, and it's not always out of hate. Sometimes it's out of fear, fear that you'll change, fear that you'll outgrow them. Fear that your success will highlight their complacency. So instead of saying, I'm proud of you, they say, are you sure? Instead of saying, go for it, they say, don't get your hopes up. But here's the secret. You don't need everyone to believe. You just need to believe enough for all of them until your results silence their reservations. Because at the end of the day, this is your life, and nobody else is responsible for the cost of your regret but you. You can't keep waiting for people to catch up before you start moving. If you do, you'll stay stuck, and nothing is heavier than a dream delayed by the opinions of people who were never meant to understand it in the first place. So don't get bitter, don't carry a grudge, don't waste time trying to convince those who refuse to see. Let them be confused, let them talk, let them wonder what you're doing. You just keep building. Keep planting, keep preparing, because one day the very people who questioned you will ask how you did it. One day the same mouths that spoke doubt will speak your name with pride. But whether that day comes or not, you can't let your destiny hang on their approval. Sometimes the greatest power you'll ever discover is the strength to keep going without a cheerleader. To say, even if nobody claps, I'll still climb. Even if they walk away, I'll still worship. Even if they laugh, I'll still launch. Because what I see in my spirit is bigger than what they understand in their logic. You don't need a crowd, you need clarity. You don't need confirmation, you need conviction. And if God gave you the vision, then God will also give you the strength, the resources, and the resilience to bring it to pass with or without their support. So go on, dream louder, stand taller, and walk boldly. Not everyone will support your dream, even family, but you don't need everyone. You just need you, and that's enough. We've all heard it, the mantra we were raised on. Work hard, and you'll succeed. And for a while, we believed it. We believed that if we showed up early, stayed late, put our heads down, paid our dues, followed the rules, and gave it everything we had, that success was guaranteed, that it was only a matter of time, that eventually the world would take notice and reward our effort. But then life hit us with a reality check. Hard work doesn't guarantee success. It never has. And the sooner we accept that, the better prepared we'll be for the road ahead. Because here's the truth nobody wants to admit: you can give everything you've got and still not get the outcome you were hoping for. You can build with integrity, serve with passion, and grind with discipline, and the promotion can still go to someone else. The spotlight can still pass over you, the business can still struggle, the door can still stay closed, and when it does, you'll be tempted to ask, what's the point? Why put in so much when there's no guarantee of return? But that's where we go wrong. We confuse effort with entitlement. We think our sacrifice earns us success when in reality our effort earns us preparation. See, hard work is never wasted, but it isn't always rewarded in the way or in the timing we expect. Sometimes the work you're doing now is building muscle for a season that hasn't come yet. Sometimes it's developing a character, a mindset, a stamina that will be necessary for a level you haven't reached. Just because it doesn't pay off right now doesn't mean it's not preparing you for what's next. And let's be honest, there are people who cut corners and still win. There are people who lie, cheat, and take shortcuts, and somehow end up ahead. They didn't work harder, they didn't sacrifice like you, and yet they seem to be reaping the benefits you thought you deserved. That's frustrating, it's unfair, and it's real. But that doesn't mean you give up. That doesn't mean you abandon excellence just because the system is crooked. It means you dig deeper. It means you redefine what success looks like for you. Because if your only definition of success is the outcome, you'll miss the value of the becoming. What if success is not about the house you build, but the person you become while building it? What if the real reward of hard work is who you are when nobody's watching, the integrity you develop, the discipline you sharpen, the strength you build in silence? That's the kind of wealth the world can't steal. That's the kind of success that doesn't crumble when the applause stops. And maybe the truth is, you were never meant to succeed in that door because something bigger is waiting behind another one. But if you had skipped the hard work, if you had taken the shortcut, you wouldn't be ready for it when it comes. See, hard work doesn't guarantee success, but it does guarantee growth. And sometimes what looks like failure is actually divine protection. A redirection, a setup for something far greater than you could have imagined. So yes, keep working, keep grinding, keep showing up even when no one's clapping, even when no one's watching, even when it feels like it's not working. Because your value is not in the result, it's in the resilience. You may not control the outcome, but you control the input. You control your attitude, your effort, your spirit, your fire. Don't let the absence of a reward extinguish your purpose. And don't misunderstand me, this isn't about glorifying struggle. It's not about romanticizing burnout. This is about endurance, about showing up even when the scoreboard doesn't reflect your hustle. Because eventually something shifts, eventually the work starts working, maybe not in the way you planned, maybe not in the timeline you scripted, but trust me, there's always a return on faithfulness. Maybe not in trophies, but in transformation. So if you're in that season right now where you're tired, discouraged, feeling overlooked, hear this. The work is not in vain. The effort is not wasted. You are not invisible. You are being prepared, refined, strengthened. Keep going, keep planting, keep pushing, because while hard work doesn't guarantee success, quitting guarantees failure, and you've come too far to stop now. Your consistency is building something no one can see yet. Your sacrifice is creating a foundation no storm can shake, and one day, when the fruit finally shows up, you'll realize it wasn't about the win. It was about becoming unstoppable. There's a moment in life that no one prepares you for, the moment when you do everything right and it still goes wrong. When you make all the right moves, follow all the right steps, speak with wisdom, act with integrity, and give your absolute best. And it still falls apart. The deal doesn't close, the relationship ends, the doors stay shut. The outcome doesn't reflect the effort. That moment will shake you. It will rattle your beliefs. It will whisper lies like, maybe I wasn't enough, or maybe I should have done more, or worse, maybe I shouldn't have tried at all. But let me tell you something real. You can do everything right and still fail, and that doesn't mean you're broken. That doesn't mean you're cursed. That doesn't mean it was all for nothing. It means you're human and life is unpredictable. Life doesn't always play by rules. It doesn't always reward preparation. And if you're not careful, you'll let one unexpected loss erase a lifetime of progress. We've been taught that input always equals output, that discipline guarantees results, that preparation ensures protection, that if you love people right, they'll love you back, that if you work hard, the door will open. But life isn't a math equation, it's a mystery. And sometimes, no matter how carefully you craft your strategy, no matter how sincerely you show up, no matter how deeply you care, the outcome will still hurt. You'll still lose, you'll still fall, and in those moments the danger isn't just the failure, it's what you start to believe about yourself because of it. You start internalizing disappointment as identity. You start interpreting silence as rejection. You begin to wonder if your best will ever be enough, if trying again is even worth it. But hear me clearly. Failure is never final unless you decide to stop moving. Losing is part of learning. Closed doors are part of the process. Every setback, every tear, every misstep is data, not a definition. You see, this world glorifies results. It worships the outcome. It celebrates the victory. But what it fails to honor is the courage it takes to show up knowing you could fail and doing it anyway. The courage it takes to invest in something with no guarantee, to love with no promise of being loved back, to try in a space where the odds aren't in your favor. That's not weakness. That's not naive. That's bravery. And that deserves honor, even if the scoreboard doesn't reflect your heart. Sometimes the failure isn't because of you at all. Sometimes the timing is wrong. Sometimes the environment is toxic. Sometimes the people around you aren't ready. And sometimes, and this is the hardest truth, it just wasn't meant to work. Not because you were inadequate, but because it was never your assignment in the first place. Some doors are closed for your protection. Some dreams don't come to pass because they would have crushed you had they come too soon. But hindsight is a slow teacher, and in the moment all you feel is the pain. So, what do you do when you've done everything right and it still breaks? You grieve, yes. You cry, absolutely. You feel the weight of it, because ignoring pain never healed anyone, but then you rise. You breathe. You remind yourself that failure doesn't make you a fraud. You get honest about what happened. You take the lesson and you leave the shame. And then you try again, not because it's easy, but because you can. Because you were built for more than one outcome. Because your worth is not tied to your wins. If you only move forward when everything works out, you'll never make it in this life. You'll quit every time it hurts. You'll start shrinking to avoid disappointment. You'll play small, stay safe, and call that wisdom when really it's just fear in disguise. But you weren't born to hide. You weren't created to retreat. You were made to rise, to press forward, to keep becoming even when it breaks your heart. Yes, you can do everything right and still fail, but you can also fail and still rise. You can lose and still learn. You can be rejected and still be valuable, so don't stop showing up. Don't stop giving your best just because the outcome betrayed your expectations. One loss does not disqualify you from your calling. One wrong turn doesn't cancel your future. You are still worthy. You are still needed. You are still becoming, and the story isn't over yet. Time is ruthless. It moves forward with no pause button, no rewind, and no sympathy for what you're going through. It doesn't slow down when your heart is broken. It doesn't freeze when your life falls apart. It doesn't stop to help you catch your breath when grief knocks the wind out of your chest. Time just keeps going. It keeps ticking whether you're standing strong or shattered. And that's one of the most painful truths you'll ever have to face. Time doesn't wait for your healing. You could be going through the hardest season of your life, loss, betrayal, failure, heartbreak, and still, the world keeps spinning. Deadlines still show up. Bills still need to be paid. Responsibilities still demand your attention. People still expect you to smile, show up, and function as if everything is fine. But everything isn't fine, and yet time doesn't care. It doesn't give you space to fall apart. It doesn't hold the door open for your emotions. It doesn't ask if you're okay. It just moves forward, dragging you with it whether you're ready or not. And in that harsh reality, there's a silent pressure that starts to build inside of you, this idea that you need to hurry up and get over it, that you should be better by now. That healing should be linear, clean, predictable, but healing doesn't follow a schedule. It doesn't submit to the ticking of a clock. Healing is messy, it's inconsistent, it's full of relapses and reminders. One moment you think you're okay, and the next, something small hits you like a tidal wave and pulls you right back under. But because time keeps moving, we often feel guilty for still hurting. We think we're weak because we're not over it yet. We think we're behind because our hearts are still broken, while everyone else seems to have moved on. But hear me clearly, just because time has passed doesn't mean you're fully healed, and that's okay. Don't let the pressure of the clock rush your process. Don't let the calendar shame you into pretending you're fine. The danger is when we start to believe that because time won't wait, neither should we. So we start suppressing instead of healing. We start hiding instead of feeling. We force smiles, bury emotions, and push ourselves to keep up with the pace of life, all while carrying silent wounds that never get a chance to breathe. And over time, those unhealed wounds don't disappear, they just get quieter, deeper, more complicated. They show up in our decisions, our relationships, our habits. We think we're functioning, but really, we're bleeding internally while the world applauds our strength. Strength is not how well you hide your pain. Real strength is giving yourself permission to feel it, even if time won't pause for you. Real strength is saying, I'm still hurting, but I'm still here. It's learning how to walk with a limp. It's finding a way to show up not because you're healed, but because you're determined to heal anyway. Because even though time doesn't wait, you still have the right to move at your own pace. You still have the right to take the time you need, even if the world doesn't understand. And maybe that's the lesson. If time won't stop for you, then you have to stop for yourself. You have to make space in a fast, moving world to sit with your pain, to name it, to understand it, to heal from it. You don't owe the world constant performance. You don't owe anyone fake smiles. What you owe yourself is honesty, grace, patience, because healing isn't just about feeling better, it's about becoming whole. And that kind of wholeness doesn't happen by rushing. It happens by returning to yourself, to your truth, to the pieces you left behind in the name of survival. Yes, life will keep moving. The seasons will change. The days will pass, and you may never get the perfect moment to pause and grieve. But healing isn't about timing, it's about intention. It's about saying, even if the world won't stop for me, I will stop for me. I will give myself space to heal even in a time that doesn't allow it. So don't let the clock dictate your worth. Don't let the rush of the world drown out your recovery. Yes, time doesn't wait, but that doesn't mean you have to race. You're allowed to be both hurting and healing. You're allowed to move forward without having it all together. You're allowed to carry your brokenness while still believing that restoration is coming, and it is, even if time doesn't wait for your healing. Healing can still find you in time. One of the most painful realities of life is this: people will leave, no matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how much love you gave. It doesn't matter how loyal you were, how kind you were, how much you sacrificed or showed up or tried. Sometimes the people you would have walked through fire for will walk away without explanation, and it won't make sense. You'll sit in the ruins of something that once felt solid, asking yourself what you could have done differently. You'll search through memories, play every conversation on repeat, and wonder what was missing in you. But let me say this clearly, their leaving doesn't always mean you lacked something. Sometimes people leave because of what's broken in them, not what was missing in you. We live with this illusion that if we're good enough, people will stay, that if we love them right, give them no reason to run, protect their hearts like our own, they'll always choose us. But love isn't a guarantee. Presence isn't a promise. Some people are only meant to walk with you for a season. Some only have the emotional capacity for part of your journey. And no matter how much you pour into them, you can't convince someone to value you the way you deserve to be valued. You can't outrun abandonment by overperforming. You can't earn permanence through perfection. People leave, and sometimes you'll never get the closure you're aching for, and the most difficult part. Sometimes the ones who leave are the ones you never imagined your life without. They're the ones you saw in your future, the ones who knew your heart, the ones who knew your past and you thought that meant something. You assumed the history you shared would be enough to anchor them, but it wasn't, and that's the heartbreak we don't talk about enough, the grief of being good to someone who still chose to walk away. But hear me when I say this, their departure is not the definition of your worth. You are not less valuable because someone failed to stay. You are not less lovable because someone stopped choosing you. Their absence does not reduce your importance. It reveals their inability to appreciate your presence, and it hurts, oh, it hurts, but that pain is not proof that you are broken. It's proof that you showed up with real love. It's proof that your heart was invested, that you were present, sincere, and vulnerable in a world that often isn't. There is strength in showing up fully knowing you could be left. There's courage in giving your heart when you don't know how it will be handled. And though it stings to be left behind, there is honor in knowing you never held back, that you were honest, that you loved with open hands and clean intentions. Let that be your peace when people go, knowing that you showed up right, even if they left wrong. Some will leave because they outgrow the version of themselves they were with you. Some will leave because your growth reminds them of how stagnant they are. Some will leave because they were never meant to stay. They were lessons dressed as people. And when they go, it will tear something open in you that you didn't even know was there. But don't let their exit define your identity. Don't let their silence convince you that you don't matter. You are not disposable. You are not forgettable. You are not replaceable. Let them go, not because you stopped caring, but because you started healing. Let them go without shrinking, without begging, without betraying yourself just to keep someone who already decided to leave. Because the ones meant for your future will not need to be convinced to stay. They will match your energy, they will meet you halfway, they will recognize your heart and honor it without hesitation. But you'll never find them if you keep chasing people who already closed the door behind them. Yes, people will leave even when you're good, even when you're kind, even when you give them no reason to. But don't let their leaving harden you. Don't let it rob you of your softness. Don't build walls so high that the right ones can't climb over. Just because someone walked away doesn't mean you should stop loving deeply. It just means you get wiser about who you invite into your heart next time. Because your goodness is not defined by who stays. It's defined by how you continue to love even after they're gone, and that is where your power lies. One of the hardest things you will ever do in life is walk away from something that never gave you a clean ending. No answers, no explanation, just silence, emptiness, the sound of a door closing without warning. We all crave closure. We want it because we believe it will make the pain easier to carry. We think if we just knew why something ended the way it did, if we just had that one last conversation, that final message, that clear moment of truth, we could move on. We think closure is the thing that lets us release. But here's the truth. You won't always get closure, and you'll have to move on anyway. There are people who will hurt you and never say sorry. People who will walk out of your life without a second glance. There will be relationships that crumble without explanation. Seasons of your life that end without warning. And chapters that slam shut before you ever got to write the last page. You will stare at the wreckage of something that once mattered and wonder what you did wrong. You'll ask yourself if it was your fault. You'll make up reasons just to make sense of the chaos. But sometimes there is no answer. Sometimes the people who left didn't even understand why they left. Sometimes they were just broken, confused, afraid, and instead of facing their mess, they disappeared into it. You could spend months, even years, waiting for a moment that will never come, waiting for them to come back and tell you what went wrong, waiting for a sign that it mattered to them too, waiting for them to admit they walked away from something good. But what if that moment never comes? What if the closure you're waiting for was never theirs to give you in the first place? Because sometimes closure isn't about what they say. Sometimes closure is the decision you make to stop needing their words in order to heal. There comes a time when you realize that not everyone has the courage to face the consequences of how they treated you. Not everyone has the maturity to say, "I hurt you and I'm sorry." Some people can only survive by pretending you never mattered. Some people have to rewrite history in their own minds to avoid facing the truth. And the longer you wait for them to come back and fix it, the more you pause your own healing, because healing can't wait for an apology. It can't wait for someone else to suddenly become the person they weren't when you needed them most. You'll have to create your own ending. You'll have to sit in the pain, not because it's fair, but because it's necessary. You'll have to find peace in the fact that you may never understand fully why they left, why it broke the way it did, why the timing was so cruel. You'll have to learn how to let go of questions that will never be answered, and that's not weakness. That's strength, that's maturity, that's what it means to grow. Closure is not something they give you, it's something you give yourself. It's saying, I may not know why, but I know I deserve peace. It's choosing to stop checking the phone, stop replaying the last conversation, stop rewriting the story in your head. It's choosing to believe that your healing doesn't require their permission. You don't need their blessing to move forward. You don't need their voice to find your own again. Yes, it's hard. It's brutal to be left without resolution. It's cruel to feel discarded. But you have to make the decision to live again anyway, to open your heart again anyway, to love again, wiser this time, stronger this time, even if part of you is still sore from the last time. That's where healing begins, when you stop needing them to come back, when you stop making their absence the center of your story. So let them go without the answers, let them go without the apology, let them go without the conversation you thought would finally make the pain make sense. You are allowed to move on, even if the ending wasn't clean. You are allowed to find peace, even if the truth was never spoken. You are allowed to outgrow the ache, because the closure you're looking for isn't in their words, it's in your decision to reclaim your life. And the moment you decide to stop waiting for what will never come, that's the moment you set yourself free. We've walked through truths that most people avoid, truths that sting, truths that strip the illusions from our eyes and leave us standing face to face with reality. And maybe now you understand why this message had to be delivered, not because it's comfortable, but because it's necessary. Life will not always make sense. People will fail you. Love will sometimes hurt more than it heals. Your heart will break in places no one can see, and you'll be expected to keep going. Time won't wait for your healing. Some relationships won't give you closure. You'll outgrow people. People will outgrow you. And through all of it, the one thing you can count on is that pain will shape you just as much as joy. But here's the hope, and you need to hold on to this. Just because these truths are painful doesn't mean they're purposeless. What wounds you can also wake you. What breaks you can also build you. These truths are not here to make you bitter, they're here to make you better. Sharper, wiser, stronger, and more aware of the value of your time, your heart, your boundaries, and your purpose. You see, life doesn't give you clarity before it gives you chaos. It gives you storms before it gives you stillness. And you're not weak for feeling lost in the process. You're human. But what makes you powerful is that despite the losses, despite the disappointments, despite the heartbreak, you're still here, still standing, still becoming, still choosing to live with your eyes open and your heart awake. That takes courage, that takes soul, that takes something unshakable within you. So don't run from these truths. Let them refine you, let them teach you. Let them guide you toward the kind of life that isn't built on fantasy, but on depth, honesty, and strength. The world doesn't need more people pretending everything is perfect. The world needs more people who have walked through fire and didn't lose their light. You are that light. Keep burning, keep building. And above all, keep going. Your story is far from over.